The 1971 season for the Minnesota North Stars was one of the greatest, unexpected pleasures of the original six taking on the expansion six. They took the Montreal Canadiens to 6 games, almost tied up game 6 at home, but the goal was called off. But the 72 season, they were anticipating a lot of success for the squad, and even though they didn't make it back to the semifinal or Frozen Four round, they had a good season, finished second overall. But what happened with Minnesota that year, they weren't giving up a lot of goals, but they weren't scoring any, and that was their detriment. Now, they finished in second place in the Western Division on the campaign, where they qualified for the playoffs, but despite that the second place finish, they lost in the first round to the St. Louis Blues. Now, in the regular season, Chicago moved to the division, and they ended up first overall with a 46-17-15 record. They were a plus 90 differential with 107 points. Now, Minnesota went 37-29-12, only scored 212 goals in a very anemic division for offense, while only giving up 191. They're only one of 2 teams in the West Division to have a plus minus differential in the plus side, and he ended up with 86 points. Now, you're probably wondering why they had so much success. Well, I tell you why. The start of the season they had that year was immense. They won 7-1-2 in the first 10 games, and then after losing their second contest of the season, they won 3 straight. And at one point, they were 18-4-3 by early December, and then everything fell apart. In December, they had a really rough go. They lost 7 key games, and by the time January come along, that losing streak continued with 4 or 5 in early January. However, they rebounded again in late January and went on a very, very strong winning streak of 5 victories and 1 tie. Now, the big problem here, they couldn't end the season strong. February and March was the doldrums for them. They lost 4 straight, starting with a devastating 4-2 loss to the Canadiens on February 24th, and then they weren't scoring enough. Lost several key games down the pike to the Blues, the Bruins, the Sabres, the Penguins, and he finished off the season with a 4-1 loss against Vancouver. So a lot of people thought they were going to hit 40 wins on the season, and unfortunately the momentum wasn't there, although they won 2 games late in the season against New York and California, and a big 5-0 victory against the Rangers on March 26th. Now, the series against St. Louis again was a rough go because they lost in 7 games. They lost Game 7 in overtime to Minnesota, and let me tell you, that was one of the to St. Louis. That was one of the toughest losses in team history. Now, they had started the series quite strong, winning 3-0 at home and 6-5 in overtime at home. But from there it was all St. Louis. St. Louis won 2-1 and 3-2 in back-to-back games at St. Louis. Minnesota came back to lead the series 3-2 with a 4-3 victory. Then St. Louis at home won 4-2, and then the big end to the season. Now, Minnesota's big situation that year, they had a good balance of defense and offense. Unfortunately, for most of the season, they're only running with 6 defensemen, and their immense defense allowed them to be in the hunt from the start. Now, what was really weird here, ladies and gentlemen, Bill Goldsworthy, who was selected for Team Canada Summit Series because of that season, wasn't the top player on the squad that year. Now, if you look at the rough statistics, it was kind of weird here, because you wouldn't think someone like a veteran player like Murray Oliver would take the majority of the load, and that's what he did. He scored 27 goals in 77 games. Goldsworthy had 62 points in 70 and 31 goals, and the very underrated Jules Drouin had 43 assists to lead the squad with 56 points. Now, Drouin is a favorite of mine because he comes from Murdochville, which anybody knows Murdochville that heavy connections to Northern New Brunswick, where I'm from. And also the great Danny Grant was there. He scored 18 goals in 78 games. So key players on the team, of course, was the great Lou Nanne, who scored 21 goals on defense, ladies and gentlemen. The very intrepid Dean Prentice was there. J.P. Parisi, who was sort of like the cosmic twin, the Jules Drouin, had 19 goals. Doug Bones had 36 points. Bobby Neville, 34 points, including 15 goals. The veteran presence of Charlie Burns was there, 25 points in 77 games. The great Barry Gibbs had 24 points in 75 games. And you had, again, Tom Reed, Ted Hampson, Teddy Harris, the captain, of course. Dennis Hawks Extall led in penalty minutes, Dennis Hawks Extall led for points per penalty minutes per game of 49 in 33 games. Dennis O'Brien was there, Gord Laboisiere, Craig Cameron, Gary Gambucci. Then, of course, the Gumper was there, Joe Gilbert, Cesar Maniego, Bob Paradise, and a young Fred Buster Harvey played one game in the playoffs, which we all know. I think it was one of the first time where two Frankton natives, really from the same part of Frankton, played in the same NHL team. Now, Worsley had was the backup to Cesar. Cesar won 20-17-4. Gump Worsley won 16-10-7 with an outstanding 2.12 goals against average with 2 shutouts. And of course, a young Joe Gilbert, who was trade bait later on to Boston, went 1-2-1 with a 3.03 average. Now, it's like I said, it's kind of bizarre when you think about this. The whole season, Lou was also playing some defense at the time, defense and offense. So it was kind of weird about this as well. This was an almost all-Canadian team in the heart of Minnesota. Only Bob Paradise and Gary Gambucci was American. Now, GM Ren Blair and Coach Jack Gordon had a very, very good camaraderie with the players and the fans. And what was kind of weird as well, ladies and gentlemen, a good friend of mine, Alan Globinski, was also drafted that year, 6th round overall, number 77. So a lot of people felt that Globinski would have been a good fit for Minnesota. It didn't work out, but he went on, of course, to play in the as an original Quebec Nordique and also a Maine Nordique in the 1970s. If you want to check out his book that he wrote, check it on Amazon. Life of Enforcer is quite interesting. Alan's trying to get his book co-published in French over the next number of months, so we encourage anybody to check out the English book if you like it, if you want to sponsor him in relation to getting the French language published. It's probably one of the best hockey books. Came out in 2019, one of the best hockey books to involve the WHA years and also the Montreal sports scene from the early 1970s, the Montreal Junior Canadiens into the Quebec Nordique combination and all the great players he played with. Talking about his life as an enforcer and all that is there. But you know, it's kind of weird, ladies and gentlemen. I still think Minnesota dropped the ball here. If you look at the draft that year, they only took Mike Antonovich, very talented player, for University of Minnesota. We're drafting enough hometown heroes from Minnesota. He only got better when he started relying more on the American players. But the early years of the Stars, again, the 71 semifinals, 72, the big loss to St. Louis, leading up to the big success in the early 1980s. This was kind of a 10-year project in Minnesota, no pun intended. From 1971 to 1981, you know, you saw a whole bunch of improvement. And any team that knocks off the Montreal Canadiens in their home rink in the Game 7, you know that was built of a number of years of playing a certain style of game. And I hope you take this the right way. A lot of people in Canada saw the Minnesota North Stars as the baby version of the Montreal Canadiens, and I'll tell you why. Danny Grant was there, Gump Worsley was there, Cesar Maniego was there, Teddy Harris was there, okay? A lot of former Montreal Canadian prospects as well. And, you know, their jerseys, and he still rank as the greatest of all time. And in New Brunswick, it's kind of fascinating because one of the high schools in southern New Brunswick, Carlton North, although it's kind of blue, they have a makeshift style of the Minnesota North Star jersey, which includes a C. And you should check it out on Google. Google Carlton North High School in Florenceville, Bristol is quite interesting. But New Brunswick, we always going to like the Minnesota North Stars because of Buster, because of Danny Grant, because of Jodoin, Parise, Hextall, those type of players really spoke to it. And having Goldie there that, starting to turn into a superstar. Goldie was kind of like that era's Mike Gartner. He would get these assists, but any person he played with on his line made better. And like I said, he was a Derek Sanderson of Minnesota North Stars. That's all I can say. He enjoyed his life on and off the ice, and unfortunately, passing away from AIDS was quite a shock. But like I said, he left a great legacy of hockey for all the fans in Minnesota and every place he played in his career. So that's the story of the great and the very underrated 71-72 Minnesota North Star squad. If you like what we're doing here with our North Star podcast, let us know with a like, comment, subscribe. Tell me who your favorite player is, and maybe if you're a Minnesota fan, what were some of your highlights of that campaign? I know they had played, I think it was a game against the Leafs. Yeah, they won 2-1 in early November that year, and I remember it was either Bill Hewitt or whoever the announcer was. He said, you got to watch the Stars, and they were coming off the momentum of 1971, so they were really rolling in that win streak. I'll give you an example of what I mean. They had tied Montreal October 14th, right? October 20th, that was one of their biggest wins ever, 7-0 against the Canucks. Then he bet the Penguins on October 28th, 2-0. And then November 7th, he knocked off the Flyers 3-0. So you couldn't score many goals against Minnesota. From October 17th, okay, to November 7th, this is the stats here. They give up 2 goals, no goals, 1-3, 1-0, 1-1-1-0. One of the best defensive teams of the early 1970s. So, ladies and gentlemen, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, all the good stuff. And as we like to say in the North Shore of New Brunswick, all the North Star fans, keep your stick in the ice. Have a good day. Bye.